Hello everybody and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. I'm actually coming on doing an Arsenal versus Leeds United reaction where we've lost 4-0 and I'm actually quite pleased. I can't believe where this football club sends us, and I can't believe it's just sent me to the point that I'm celebrating Enzo Fernandez scoring for Chelsea, which I did unapologetically to make it 3-2 in that game, and that is an absolutely massive result for Leeds United. And to be honest with you now, I think it does change the complexion of the day because of that result. I must admit, apologies I couldn't get an instant match reaction out. Basically, we had a carbon monoxide alarm that went off, which not made it so I just couldn't come live, obviously, because I couldn't even be in the house. However, we've had some guy here now, and it's now not looking all so bad. And actually, it's probably worked out the best that I waited. So, you know, thank you, carbon monoxide. No, that is a bad thing to say. But what a fantastic turnaround that has been for Leeds United today. That West Ham result, because I want to start with that, because I feel that's the thing that people probably want to hear about more. They probably heard enough about the Leeds United game, although it does say Leeds United match reaction right there. I think that's huge today. I actually think for West Ham that could be huger than the result that happened for Leeds United today. This sounds utterly ridiculous, but I honestly feel like that result today for West Ham will absolutely batter them. Like, they will come out and be absolutely gutted. Whereas because obviously we were well beaten by Arsenal today, which we were, I thought Arsenal were miles better than us. And I always felt like if obviously, and a lot of you guys will know this as well, if Arsenal played their game and played it to perfection, they would probably beat us, and they'd probably beat us convincingly. And I think that's what happened in the Leeds United game. But massive. We needed a bit of help. And then I think some weekends, obviously, you need a bit of help. And at the start of the weekend, truthfully, with us playing against Arsenal, and obviously knowing the run that sort of West Ham have been on recently, you'd have probably accepted at the start of the weekend, well, I would have anyway, just been on that, keeping our 6-point gap. And at half-time, you're looking at it going, oh my God, this is looking like this could be the worst weekend that's ever been in existence. But actually, in the end, it's looking now not so bad. Obviously, we've still got Forest and Crystal Palace tomorrow, so we'll get into as well. But it does put much more of a sort of dampener on the game today, I must admit. We will talk about the match today, but I wanted to get to start. I'll look at some guys' comments. Also, as well, if you could help the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. As I've said loads of times on the channel, but the sport's been just ridiculous recently. So if you could help that, and also sort of continue with that, and yeah, as I said, like and subscribe, it really helps me. We might even be able to get 1.8k on stream this evening as well, and appreciate it because, you know, I've been battling with carbon monoxide today, so, you know, it's been a bit of a tricky one. I think people probably thought that I skipped the instant match reaction because we lost 4-0. No. There was actually a reason. Anyway, let's get into some of your guys' comments. West Ham lost 3-2 after winning 2-0 half-time. Huge advantage to Leeds, to Sebastian. Completely agree, mate. Todibo and Mavropanos, both the red card in the dying seconds. That's even more massive if they will be spending for 3 matches. Did Mavropanos get sent off as well? I didn't even know that. No, he didn't. It was just Todibo. But still, for me, Todibo is West Ham's best centre-back. And you're right to bring that up because he'll be suspended now. For violent conduct, I'm pretty sure, in fact, I know you get 3 games. So he will be now suspended for 3 games, which again is massive because he's their best centre-back. It literally, that Chelsea game couldn't have gone any better for us, in my opinion. Yes, look, we'd have rather maybe Chelsea win 6-0. But in terms of what that will actually do to the West Ham team, I don't think we could have had a better state of affairs. West Ham actually started the game really well. And to be honest with you, on the 60th minute, I didn't see a world, or the 57th minute just before Chelsea had scored, I didn't see a world where that game would flip on its head. I thought it was cruising to a West Ham win. Then João Pedro did score, obviously a fantastic header for Fofana, and obviously that brought him back into the game. And I think obviously then now it's ended in sort of flying colours for Leeds United with, as I said, them picking up no points, them on the floor, them having a fight at the end, and one of their lads getting sent off. It literally couldn't have been more perfect. And he's one of the most important players for West Ham as well, because they really do struggle with centre backs. Kilman's horrendous, and they've struggled when Todibo's been out of the team early in the season, like when they played Wolves, obviously as well. So yeah, massively important. That massively important. As says West Ham 2-0 as well. Looking a bad day for Leeds at half time. Yeah, at the end of the day, Todibo's been, at the end, it's only Todibo being sent off. All right, okay. Great result for the Bridge, 6 points out of the Hammers, and a goal back on goal difference too. Yep, you know it's a bad result when you're wanting Chelsea to get a result. Yeah, Matthew, sometimes it's got to happen like that. And I feel like the year we got relegated especially, I don't know if you guys felt this, but I felt the year we got relegated, we got absolutely done on results. Now, obviously, we were terrible in our own right, but you've got to be helped out by results. And we've also come on here on the channel and said as well that, like, let's see where West Ham, because obviously everyone was getting a bit worried about West Ham after the last 2 games. And actually at half-time today, I think everyone was rightly worried. I tried to keep as calm ahead as possible. But actually, when you look at sort of where, as I said, where West Ham were at half-time, I think we were rightly sort of concerned because it wasn't just like 2-0. It was 2-0 and they were playing really, really well. But obviously we've seen them sort of fall away as well. Leeds worst game since Brighton away. Yeah, I think it probably was. Where are we? I've just Chelsea does a massive favour in the second half, lol. Yeah, they have, Rich. You're absolutely right. Farke wants a new goalkeeper, he said. Did he say that? Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. Yes, and you see, it's not only happening at Leeds. Exactly. Chelsea. I don't know if we can get that far, Josh. I love Chelsea right now. I hate Chelsea, but I love them. But, you know, it's not as bad in it because I think as well, obviously, Chelsea are like, I don't really hate Chelsea like I hate Man United. I know a lot of some of probably the older fans do. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want Chelsea to lose every single week. Let's make this abundantly clear. But I don't care much about them, I must admit, as I do about Man United. Man United, like, when they win, it just really hurts my soul. West Ham looked very good in the first half, was conceding. Can't ask for much better from Chelsea after the afternoon we had. No, exactly. Arsenal champions by a mile. I just don't want the damage to damage our momentum. Our momentum mentally. Yeah, we will talk. I do want to get on to the Leeds United game because I've got quite a bit to say out of it, actually. And now, obviously, to be honest with you, when you're getting smacked, like, I want to talk about the game, and I've got to do my instant match reaction. I actually wasn't going to be coming on shouting and swearing. Like, I feel like when you concede right at the end, that's when you're really frustrated and you find it hard. And at times the instant match reactions can be hard to do because you're sort of so emotional built up in the game. But we were out of the game from half time, mate, in truth. In fact, we were out of the game as soon as Arsenal scored the second goal. So actually, even at full time in the game, I was quite as frustrated I was by sort of how things that went on in the game. I actually just felt that Arsenal was such the better team in the game and very much deserved the win. Wolves are down, says Arthur. Yeah, I thought we've known that for a while, mate. Today was a microcosm of how the season can be. With West Ham 2-0 up, it was hideous, but now it's quite a positive day despite getting hammered. Funny old game, innit, mate? Comment of the day. Couldn't agree more. Want Tanaka, Nonto back in the team. Fair enough. Few, thank God the Hammers lost. Yeah, definitely, mate. We were very poor today, but you can't give two soft goals in the best team in the league. It's much more important to get a result versus Forest and the other 3 down there. Yeah, but let's talk a bit about the Leeds United game because I've got quite a few sort of feelings about the Leeds United game. I said yesterday, going into the game, when we sort of did a bit of a preview to the game, that actually one of our main strengths is obviously the fact that we're really physical, we're really good from set pieces. That's one of our main strengths. And I also said that that's obviously one of Arsenal's main strengths. But I thought what would end up happening was that hopefully we would neutralise each other. But what actually ended up happening is that they basically just dominated in them areas still and overpowered. So we're good on set pieces, but they were much better on set pieces today. And I thought they were much more physical than Leeds United today as well. And what ended up happening, I felt, was that we just basically, our things that helped us win these big games and what have been a massive beneficiary to Leeds over the last few weeks in terms of, or since that Chelsea game, in terms of the midfield dominance and sort of our aggressiveness and our power in our team, all of them were stripped out the game today because Arsenal could match it. And then it was just down to sort of individual quality. And we know, obviously, Arsenal have got far more individual quality than us today. And I think that's what showed. So what I actually thought would allow Leeds United to neutralise sort of Arsenal was actually worked out in the opposite manner in the whole way, because it almost just flipped itself on its head. So look, it was a bad one today, but we did, as I said right at the start of this video, I think we all did accept at points if sort of with the way it was going to go today, if Arsenal played their best game, obviously it was going to be very tricky for Leeds United. And I actually thought they were fantastic today, Arsenal. I thought I've watched them now for probably the last 3 or 4 games. That's the best I've seen them play all the time. And I'm not making excuses for Leeds United because I do think we could have done more in the game to maybe help. But actually, sometimes you've got to put your hands up and go, we were beaten by a far better team today. And we all, like, even when we talked about yesterday, we did accept that, look, if Arsenal play their game, they will beat us. And I felt that was what it is. Obviously, I think there's now going to be conversations, and I'm sure I've seen it in the comments a few times already, about the goalkeeping situation. I don't think we need to panic on the goalkeeping situation, is my honest opinion. Dowell's been very good for Leeds United since he's in most games that he's played. He made a mistake today. I think it was a bit trickier than people are making out, I must admit. But he did make a mistake, and obviously he should have cleared that ball as much as Calvert-Lewin was kind of in the way. But that and mistakes can happen in games, but obviously it's naturally highlighted when the transfer market's on, and also when he's dropped Perry for sort of Darlow as well. So yeah, I'm sort of that's in my head. I'm thinking with this Darlow mistake, that's the first mistake we've had now. We can't really see another one. We've got to now go probably till the end of the season without another huge error. But I'm not thinking now that this is the end of the world. And also, I think obviously when we talked about this to death as well. But next weekend we've got a huge game against Forest, and actually 4 points in the last 3 games that we've had. I don't think it's a particularly bad return. Fulham are on a great form. We got a win there. Everton, we know, a pretty tricky team, and that wasn't an awful point. And then obviously today was a nightmare in terms of result, but it actually, in terms of them 4 games or 3 games that I probably took that going into that spell of games. So as I said, I think now we've just got to sort of regroup, focus on the most important game, which was the Forest game, and if we can win that, especially with what's just happened at Stamford Bridge, I do still think we're on a good spell, and I don't think this is the end of Leeds United. I really don't think that at all. It is kind of my feeling. Anyway, let's get into some of your guys' comments. Are you worried about the Forest game, or are you positive that we can beat them? Advantages, of course, that the game is under the lights. That is a huge advantage, mate. It's an absolutely huge advantage. I am with that game particularly. I've watched Forest again quite a few times, as it has Arsenal. I've never been that impressed with them, in truth. I think they're crap, if I'm being honest. I mean, they might beat us, but I don't watch them and think they're sort of littered with quality. I don't watch them and think they're a really good team. I'm going to watch them tomorrow, obviously, when they play Crystal Palace. Obviously, that's a huge game for us again. Not as big as the West Ham one, but a big game for us to see sort of where we're at with it. And obviously then we can I'll judge from there a bit from the Forest. But from what I've seen of Forest, and I remember watching them against West Ham, and I've watched them in the Arsenal game as well. And I've not thought they were that good a team, if I'm being totally honest. But I could be wrong. And I know they obviously got a positive result against Arsenal, which we didn't do. But I don't think Dyche is the manager for the correct manager for their team, if I'm being honest. And I feel like they're a team that I still think they will win tomorrow, to be fair. But I do think they're a team that are maybe instilling a bit of danger. Anyway, let's have a look. Chelsea come back devastating for Hammers as Leeds lose no ground. I completely agree, mate. And that almost sounds, mate, like a news news article, doesn't it? Ollie says, evening, very disappointed with that today. I really think we need a new goalkeeper after that today. Darlow was, in my opinion, for 2 of their goals. Also made that mistake at Wednesday in the Cup. He did make the mistake at Wednesday in the Cup, but that was a very different game. In a lot of situations, in the term of how it played out, he should have done better with the sort of the goal against Sheffield Wednesday. And you're right to bring it up today. I don't think he was massively responsible for the second goal or any of the goals outside of the obviously the second goal, in my opinion. The first goal, I think they just had an overload of numbers in the box that we didn't get out and sort of get to that front post quick enough, which is obviously what we should have done. The second goal is obviously an error, but they were having corner after corner against us. The third goal obviously is, I mean, at that point the game's dead anyway, but the ball comes in and obviously it was a mess up. And then, to be fair, I thought the fourth goal was a fantastic goal from an Arsenal perspective, I'm being honest. We really need to score when we're on top from 45 to 65. Once they scored the third, Farke just threw attackers on and we lost our structure. Hence their fourth goal and loads of chances. Yeah, maybe, mate. If I'm being totally honest, I didn't see loads of the 45 to 65 because I was unfortunate, as I said, dealing with the household incident. Josh says, mint for our level, yeah, 100%. Ollie says, biggest worry at the moment is only the striker on the bench is Joe Pro. We need improvements desperately. Keeper, centre-back, striker has to be the priority at this stage. Honestly, though, I can't see nobody coming through the door. Yeah, look, we will obviously, I think obviously tomorrow we'll talk all about transfers again. I don't want to talk too much about transfers tonight because I want to sort of focus on obviously the football. But I think today there will be, I think instantly obviously when the transfer market's on and stuff like this happens and bad results happen, naturally everyone's going to point to the transfer window, and I get it. But I did think we missed a few key players today. Like, I actually think BL was a massive miss today. And obviously he will come back. I don't think, had we had Strand last day, it would have been any different in truth. But I know what you mean in terms of as soon as Calvert-Lewin, if Calvert-Lewin was ever to get injured at any point, then we would have a serious problem because Perot, with Lemaitre as well out at the moment, Perot is not the answer at all. So I do get your point on that. It's very unlikely, but we might get a loan keeper in this window. More likely, we'll try and cope with Darlow and Perry, and then we'll sort it out properly in the summer. Yeah, that's what I think it is. The only way the goalkeeper situation changes, in my opinion, is if Besiktas potentially come back with another offer for Perry, and obviously, and he ends up moving on. Maybe that can sort of change the sort of complexion of where everything's at. But yeah, I agree with you to an extent, mate. I do agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen. Ollie says Rodon was pathetic for the goal. He ducked did the exact Fulham when Gabby scored for the own goal? Yeah, true. Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. As I said, to be honest, we were poor in the game, but I just felt that like I don't want to be too critical of Leeds United because I think people will go over the top out of the game. I know we've lost 4-0 at home, and that is unacceptable on every level. I completely all agree with all that. But part of it, I agree with the fans that were in at the end. I'm sure I know all of you go to the games as well, and they were singing March On together at 4-0 down. I actually sort of agree with them fans. That's kind of where I'm at. Part of my feeling is that we've been on a fantastic run. That's only our second loss in 12. And I don't really want to get too negative about the performance because I just felt that we were beaten comfortably by the better team. And we all knew that if Arsenal showed up in the way that they were going to, they could do, then they could beat us fair and square. And as I said, if we lose against Forest, I think we can have a different conversation. But I think right now it's not a time, especially, as I said, because of what's happened at Stamford Bridge tonight. I don't think it's a time, personally, in my opinion, for screaming and shouting and sort of like really going into the team. Like I've seen Farke out on Twitter, it's definitely not a time for that either. I don't think any of this is the time for it. I think it's just a bit of calm that just needed, in my opinion. I've just got a super chat. Oh my God. Well, I'll get onto that. Melier is better than him. He's not. Only that's actually true on Jordan. He's failed to go for a header, which would have prevented a goal. Yeah, on pretty much all of them, we weren't great at all. Josh says, thought Okafor was very good when he came on. Gabby, once again, brilliant. Yeah, I agree with that. Scott, did you see Farke's comments on the goalkeeper situation? Our board knows my feelings about what we should do. I won't speak in public about my opinions. Sadly, I can't answer that honestly. Well, he's basically said then that he wants a new goalkeeper. Wow. Okay. I hadn't seen that. Truthfully, as I said, my world's been a bit of a mess all over today. So I haven't seen loads of stuff, and obviously tomorrow we can regroup and maybe do a proper show and we'll talk through all this in more detail. It's kind of a bit more instant match reaction mode, I guess. Ted says, great coverage, thanks to the USA. Thank you very much, mate. I very rarely get super chats, but that's only my second one ever. But I really appreciate that. That's really kind, and obviously it goes without saying, you never have to think you have to give super chats to me. That you watching is and commenting and all the good stuff that you do and liking is absolutely more than I would ever hope for. But yeah, thank you very much, mate. I do really appreciate that. I do. Easy says, Farke outdid himself today, even though I'm not a fan of his. I'm surprised. I was surprised by his fear. Do you not think that Arsenal were really good today? Like I actually can't get away from the fact. Like my dad was kind of your opinion, Easy, and a lot of the comments in today. I felt at half time. I know we gave 2 goals away in a daft manner, but I felt a bit, and I thought this kind of going into the Arsenal game could be the case. I felt today with Arsenal, not to look, but I just want to look from Arsenal's point of view. I felt with Arsenal, obviously they've been on a really bad run. They haven't picked up sort of 3 points in any of the last 3 games in the Premier League. And I felt today was either a day where they were going to sink and go under, or it was a day they were going to come out fighting. And we've seen this with Leeds United before when we've been going for sort of promotion runs before, and it's been like a turning point where it's either we completely go under or we just come out fighting. And I felt today Arsenal did the latter, and we didn't need that, in truth. We didn't need that because we needed them to sort of sink a bit further more. And maybe we could have pushed that game into their hands a bit more, of course, and sort of maybe forced issues themselves. But that's what I was actually felt. I just felt we got completely outplayed by a team that have got, truthfully, miles better players than us. And I think we've done well for a long time now where we've been overperforming a bit to sort of cope with the Premier League, and I think as I said, we've adopted this sort of physical approach, which is working really well for us. You can't do that against Arsenal, and they're the only team I don't think we can use our physical presence against. And I thought that was a huge miss today. That was the biggest thing in the game, in my opinion. Like when we've obviously been really competitive against Liverpool. We've actually been really competitive against Man City in the away game as well, especially in the second half. And we were really competitive, obviously, against Chelsea, and we won the game, of course. But them games, we ran over them teams. We ran over them teams with physicality and sort of aerial dominance. Again, Arsenal's always a tricky one, as I said, because you can't do that with Arsenal. They're one of the only teams in the league at this moment who've got so much quality, but also have that sort of physical dominance. And that's kind of, and as I said, that's kind of an issue. That's kind of an issue. Phil McCrin says, I nearly butchered that. I can't believe it. This reminds me of traditional. Okay, I agree. I agree. We just have to take this on the chin and respond versus Forest. We should be grateful that that Arsenal are the only team. That Arsenal are the only team to really hammer us this season. We've experienced a few of those, City, etc. Yeah, true. Had noticed the stream was a bit delayed. Was getting to ready to tune in at 5. Hope all is good and if something was up. Yeah, mate. But as I said, I won't repeat too much. But basically, about half time, our carbon monoxide meter started going absolutely mental. So I was kind of like, oh no, because this is worst case scenario. Leeds are playing. Let's forget about the carbon monoxide, but obviously you can't do that. So yeah, we had to get in touch with the emergency services. But yeah, it's all good now. However, we've got no boiler at this moment in time, so there is a bit of that. It's absolutely freezing in the house, but it's what it is. At least we're all good. Felix says that's for all the people who said they felt safer with Darlow. I disagree. I still think Darlow's a better keeper. The only reason Arsenal don't win 4 or 5 a week is because they don't play Farke. You've been waiting, mate, because you've been very quiet in this chat for a long time. We have one really bad result, and you're straight back at Farke. Come on, even you said, I think a few weeks back when you came on the stream, you did say fair enough. Like he's proved me wrong. So you know, Arsenal the best team in the league by far. Also, they're our kryptonite. Everything that separates from others, they're better at. Exactly. You bang on. God, I hate Chelsea, but I cheered like mad when they scored the third. I know, I am so guilty as well, Mark. I am so guilty. Can't stand Chelsea, but completely guilty of that. To be fair to Farke, we were on top for 20 minutes, but failed to score. We never created a chance, though. I've seen this a few times where people have said sort of we were good for the first 20 minutes, and obviously I was actually able to watch the first 20 minutes. I thought we were good. I thought we were sort of... We matched them and we got a few corners and that sort of thing, and we were trying to sort of turn the needle a bit. We never actually created a chance, though, did we? In truth, we never actually created a chance at all. Phil, I am going to ban you, mate, because you know. Can I'll put you on a timeout. There you are. And you can have a 24-hour timeout because, you know, I don't think anyone's interested in the comments, in truth. Ollie says, I really hope that's the end of Gruev's starting run. It might well be, mate. It might well be. I know he's a particularly hated person in the fan base. Arsenal, a bit of our kryptonites. There's no aspect of the game we can't outdo them. So whatever we do, they're likely to beat us. Yeah, and I think that's true, and I think that's why you've seen. I think actually the first game for me, we got tactically all wrong. Actually, I thought obviously we shouldn't have played pro in that game. We should have played the physical number 9. There was a lot of things that felt wrong in the first game. Today, I just thought they were well up for it and just battered us. To be honest, it's Arsenal. It didn't drop the gap to 3 points. 49ers need to realise how close it still is. Let's not gamble and bringing anyone else in, says Jonathan. Yeah, I think that's fair enough, mate. I didn't think Gruev was especially bad. Longstaff came on and was probably worse. Gave it away a few times. Yeah, maybe. They won't be the defining results of the season. Leeds United, it will be the results against the teams in the round Leeds. The thing is, though, we've actually been doing quite well against some of the bigger teams. I mean, I know we lost at Newcastle, but we did go toe for toe, and I think everyone can agree with that. We beat Chelsea recently. We've drawn with Liverpool twice. Like, we actually have been competing against these teams. But BMG and I think Ollie said it as well, and I think somebody else said it as well. So I forgot the names. I think maybe Gibson White said it, but they are in terms of stylistically, like obviously styles make fights. And in football, in terms of systems make sort of games. And I do feel like today that's kind of what happened with their system. Is we don't want to be playing Arsenal anymore, and thank God that's over. BMG, I do credit Farke today. I'm not sure. Scott, I did say Farke has proven himself he can compete in the Premier League, but whether he chooses to is another matter. Fair enough, mate. To be honest, as I said, look, we lost 4-0 today, so if you want to have a go at Farke, it's absolutely fine. What I meant to say is we need to score while we had the good spell. We created notes, but at least we had the ball up there and any kind of goal would have done. Yeah, true. You cannot judge a manager on one game and 2 defeats in 12 matches. You can't say that DF is doing a bad job, agreed. Of course, he has to improve his game management, but I was happy with the subs at half-time. Yeah, I saw that a lot on Twitter. I think a lot of people were pleased with them as well. Anyway, everybody, I am going to wrap it up there because I do feel it's still a bit mishmashed in my brain. I don't feel like I'm doing the show as well as I usually do, in truth. And I'm always honest with you guys. It's just a bit of a mental day. Although, as I said, we've come out the day, and in truth, we've played the best team in the league, and they were well on it today. and we still have got 6 points on the bottom 3 teams. The third bottom team have still lost, which has obviously been a fantastic situation. So look, it's all in a decent position. And Michael says, West Ham Fan TV podcast are calling for Nuno to be sacked, but the board, after knowing they threw away 2-0. Yeah, I know they're not a fan at all. They're not a fan at all. Remember that the final BL season and the one after, we got a few hidings of teams that are worse than Arsenal. Yeah, true. Good job West Ham lost. Is that positive enough? Yeah, it is easy. That is definitely positive enough. To me, I'm just happy I'm alive, truthfully. When you hear a carbon monoxide alarm going off, you get different feelings than football, I must admit. DCL needs more support during the Forest game. It's not willing to play a striker. Let's go for Okafor. We were today, but that's because we were stopped from playing. I do kind of agree with that. I thought Longstaff needed to start purely for his height, not Gruev's day. Yeah, it won't. He had a bad day. Bottom line, the gap is the same as it was. I'll take it. Exactly, BMG. Exactly. And that's where I'll end the show, as I said today, everybody. As I said, if you have just joined, we've talked 25 minutes all about Leeds United. You're more than welcome to sort of skip back and watch the remainder of the show. Otherwise, though, I'll see you all later, everybody. Bye for now. And we'll be back tomorrow, as I said, at 8 p.m, talking through all the weekend stuff. We'll get into transfers, we'll get into all sorts. And I feel like I've been much more prepared for it as well, so it might be a bit easier as well. Anyway, thanks all for watching, as I said, and I will see you tomorrow. I'm also going to change the thumbnail, but none of you probably care about that, but I am. See you later, everybody. Bye for now.